Hi there, y'all. Imagine if the Suikoden series just never ended. Just imagine that it kept on going strong and like another Suikoden 6 was released back on the PS2. Because that is what playing Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is like, and I want to tell you all about it here in this review sponsored by 505 Games. This is a wholly retro experience and a completely faithful successor and homage to that seminal series that we all adored back in the early PlayStation years. Hi there everybody, my name's David, and if you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe for more top 10s, news, and reviews, and then smash that like button to show your love. And now, let me tell you all about this great game in this full, complete, spoiler-free review. Let me first start off by explaining exactly what I mean by it never left the PS2, just so you all really get a feel of what I'm talking about here. Personally, I'm old school. I'm almost 42 years old, and I began gaming back on the original NES. So I do know what it's like to play an older game, and they definitely have their ups and their downs, their goods and their bads. So how you feel about the retroness is completely up to you and your taste. But it has been 3 whole console generations since the PS2, and while they have added some quality of life features here and there to Eiyuden Chronicle, all told, it is a mixed bag. There is autosaving, but it's not the most reliable thing ever, so make sure that you get ready to continually save at every single save point that you come across. And don't forget, those save points aren't going to heal you up, and tents don't exist either. So you can't change your party or your runes at them either if you want to do that, or even heal up, you have to go all the way back to town for any of that stuff. There's also no fast forwarding in battle, as well as some absolutely brain-bending puzzles with no hints whatsoever, and a pretty high difficulty level even if you're playing on the normal mode. These are all just things that I feel like it's my job as a reviewer to make you aware of, because some people will love this, and some other people might not. They might think, wait, where's all the modern quality of life conveniences? What do you mean that I can't just warp out of a dungeon? What do you mean that there's no fast travel until about 12 hours or so into the game? What do you mean that the game just doesn't tell you how to get a side quest or indicate the important NPCs to talk to? Yeah, welcome to the PS2 era, folks. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes never left it. Anywho, with my retro forewarning out of the way, let's get to the story. You play as Noah, a plucky guy from a small mountain village who goes off to the big city to prove himself and join the Watch. And here you meet other party members, Gar, your leader, and Leon, an overly enthusiastic girl who just joined 2 days before, and of course, she has a crush on Noah. The country that you live in is known as the League of Nations, but there's also an expanding and evil empire led by Luca Blight, Dukes Aldrich. And together, the two countries decide to join forces to search for the hidden rune barrows, which is rumored to hold a primal lens, also known as one of the 27 true runes. After finding it together though, the League idiotically gives up the primal rune to the Empire for study. And as we all know, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and Dukes Aldrich decides to track down the rest of the primal lenses and crush anyone who dares to stand in his path, including the countries forming the League of Nations. So of course it's up to you and your other 100 Stars of Destiny, 100 Heroes, to build up your own castle, form your own resistance, and then find your own powerful rune lenses in order to ultimately take down the warmongering empire. As you're out exploring the world, on a fantastic world map I might add, you'll encounter all sorts of towns, dungeons, and little nooks and crannies to explore, full of secrets and hidden treasures, as well as different characters to recruit to your retinue. The more characters that you get, the more fighters that you have in your front line, but again, not everybody is like a born fighter. Some might stay back at the hideout and work on a shop or a farm, and others could just kind of like tag along with you as support characters, who bestow various bonuses, like being able to change your party at a save point, change your runes around on the fly, or get more items from the various gathering points. And with that, let's talk about the hideout. This aspect is probably my favorite part of all the Suikoden games. After about 5 or so hours, you'll unlock the castle, and then you and your architect upgrade it almost like a skill tree. And each upgrade is clearly marked and you can access it once you have the required funds, the building resources, and the relevant person for running the upgrade. This is great because it kind of like takes all the guesswork out of who's doing what with the castle. And once you have it upgraded enough, it'll level up, and then more amenities will unlock. Battles take place in a turn-based fashion where you fight in groups of 6, utilizing 3 members in the front and 3 members in the back row. and each character is classified as short, medium, or long ranged. So you need to put your short range fighters in the front row while keeping your long range fighters in the back row. And your medium fighters can pretty much just go wherever you want them to. You can choose to give direct orders to your characters or have them fight automatically. Thankfully though, you can also customize their auto battling, kinda similar to the Gambit system of Final Fantasy XII or Unicorn Overlord, just not as detailed. And there's also a turn order gauge signifying whenever your characters will be attacking too, kinda like in Final Fantasy X, which is just so nice. Each party member also has their own unique attacks, special skills, and runes to differentiate them from one another, and also even hero combinations, where they gather their strength together and wail on the enemies. So don't just throw a team together willy-nilly, party planning is paramount here. And just like in the original Suikoden games, there are random battles. But thankfully, they don't really occur all that often, which is great for me, especially with the Suikoden leveling system out in full force. There's just no reason to have a million random battles, because you do get those diminishing experience returns. One thing to note though, just like in most PS2 games, you can't skip battle animations and there's no fast forwarding either, so get ready to see those same attack animations over and over and over again. A really neat addition to the boss battles are gimmicks. They don't happen in every boss fight, but they are there in about half of them or so. And they're all clearly pointed out, easy to use, and there's all sorts of different ones. Many of them will be defensive, like taking cover from a strong attack, or some of them can also be offensive, allowing you to deal massive amounts of damage to the boss if you're able to get the gimmick off correctly. Now, let's also talk about some of the other sorts of battles that you'll get into, like the duels and the war battles. You may recall that the duels in the original Suikodens worked in kind of like a rock, paper, scissors system, but here you have like a 50-50 shot. You have the choice of either attacking or counter-attacking, and then unleashing a super move whenever your tension levels are high enough. This isn't like a bad change or anything, it's just different. But the war battles are definitely dumbed down. If you recall, in the original Suikoden games, these war battles played out very similarly to something like a Fire Emblem game, which took place on a massive tactical RPG stage with tons of different units to control, each with different movement ranges and abilities. But here, they all take place on a much smaller grid. And the out-of-battle abilities that you can use are just kind of dumbed down. It really is a shame how these went from being a highlight in the original games to being somewhat of a real letdown here. Now, there's two other negatives here that I really do feel like I need to address. The first is in regards to menuing. The standard menu that you can access is easy enough to deal with, but at the same time, it also seems like it just takes forever to get through. It's not as intuitive as a traditional menu was back on the PS2. But the worst part really comes when you're trying to equip your entire party, because there's no way to just automatically equip everybody with the best stuff with your inventory, as well as from your storage. And you know that you're going to be changing up your party after every single major storyline sequence, so this annoyance does add up, and it could have easily been rectified by just like a disequipped everybody not currently in the party button, and then another one that said, optimize your current party. How simple is that? Then there's my other little gripe, which is just difficulty spikes, especially for the boss battles. Maybe I have an early build. Maybe these boss battles will be balanced later on. Maybe a patch will be released, but I can only talk about what I personally experienced. And some of these bosses are ridiculously brutal. And I was playing on normal mode too. We're talking of upwards 20 minutes. 20 frickin' minutes for a boss fight. There's this one particular spot that comes to mind. And it's right or so after getting your castle together and you're going to be heading off to another rune barrows. And these rune barrows are just filled to the brim with a boatload of puzzles. And well, yeah, they are brain bending and kind of frustrating. The real frustration happens at the boss fight. Or should I say the two back-to-back boss fights with no save point or rest points in between them. And if you do want to save or change your equipment around or anything else like that, you need to leave the entire dungeon, go on back to the inn, rest up, and then go on back in order to fight the second boss. Then, what makes this so egregious at this point also is you don't have access to a blacksmith. You can't go back to your castle, and there's only one teeny tiny zone where you can grind up your levels. So if you're not used to that retroness like I am, I could totally see some newer players finally spending those 20 minutes to defeat the first boss, only to get slaughtered at the second boss and not going back and saving and resting beforehand, leading to some rage quits. And the last thing that I want people to do here is rage quit, because all told, this is still a great game. It does have its fair share of hiccups, and it is unabashedly retro, and I did want to point all of this out to you in the most unbiased way that I could, because whether that works out in the game's favor or not is completely up to you and your own personal tastes and difficulty requirements. Now, please do not think that just because I list a couple of negatives here and there that means that I didn't enjoy my time with Eiyuden Chronicles. Quite the opposite, in fact. All told, I had a fantastic time with the game, and once I picked it up, I just could not put it down. So now I want to know from you, how did you feel about the game, and do you think that you're going to be getting it? Let's get a discussion going on here, and let's all talk and chat about it, because I'm always in the comments too. And if you like what I do here on the channel, please head on over to the Patreon to sign for early access to my videos, as well as behind the scenes photographs. The link to it is over in the video description. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.